What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another moto vlog. We got a good one for you guys today. We are going to be discussing something that I think is a question that comes up for a lot of people, but you know, not a lot of people have talked about. So today we're going to be talking about how good are these new Harley Softails for two-up riding? Like, how does it handle a passenger on the back? So to help us out with that, we have a special guest today, but we're going to roll that intro first. So here we go. Alrighty, guys. So as I said, we have a very special guest with us today. She is the only lady, the only one that gets to ride on the back of this bike, because she is the one and only, my lovely girlfriend, Leah.
Hello.
So, Leah has been riding as a passenger for a really long time now, and I just wanted to kind of have her come along with us for a ride and talk to us a little bit about not only this bike, but, you know, just like her experience as a passenger in general and kind of, you know, how this one compares. So, Leah, take it away.
Yeah, so I have been riding since I was a little kid. My dad had bikes growing up, and so I remember actually for one of my birthdays, I requested the only thing I wanted was to ride on the back of the motorcycle. And here we are like 20-some years later, and I am still riding, so it's clearly addictive. He rode, I can't remember the first bike we had when I was a little kid, but then for a long time I rode on the back of his Triumph Rocket 3, and then a couple years ago he switched that out for an Indian Roadmaster, and that has been a very comfortable ride to be a passenger on. And then I obviously rode on your Sportster, and then now this bike.
Nice. So we'll get into what it's like to ride on the Roadmaster in a second, because I'm imagining that's kind of like a couch on wheels. But how was it riding the Sportster on the back?
Not good. It was doable, but wasn't ideal for the type of riding we were trying to do. It was honestly fine getting around town and things like that. We did look a little funny two-up on it, but it wasn't like the end of the world. But we like to go for longer rides together, and that just was not, wasn't really cutting it.
So obviously not the most comfortable bike in the world, but like talk to us a little bit about why. Like, what made it so uncomfortable as a passenger?
Well, for starters, I think just the power of it, there wasn't much power, especially for two people on that bike. But as a passenger, like riding, the ability to have a more comfortable like seat just wasn't really there as much. So my seat was pretty tiny, and it didn't allow for me to have a very comfortable ride in my seating position for much longer than an hour.
Right. So, okay, so that perfectly kind of segues into what are some of the biggest qualities in a motorcycle that make them more comfortable for a passenger?
I would say that the seat is the most important thing. A sissy bar doesn't hurt either once you get used to that. Like, we put some new pads on the sissy bars before, and they're a little uncomfortable the first day or two, and then it's fine, just like most seats. I would say the width of the seat is most important that I've found for myself, just because like we have two different saddlements that we interchange on this bike, and one was the first one you owned. I'm sure you'll go into more detail on that, but it was more like 6 inches that I was sitting on width-wise, and now this new one is like 12 and a half inches, and man, having double the seat makes so much difference. When I was sitting on that smaller seat, it was like right on my sit bones, and that's the only place I was putting pressure. And after an hour or two, I could feel it through all my legs. It was just not a comfortable ride after that. Where having more width on the seat, I can make it for hours, and I don't have any problem, just because the pressure of where you're sitting is spread out throughout your whole rear end versus just one point. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. So for those of you guys that have been watching a couple of the other videos on my channel, I've talked about this, but my usual seat is the Saddlemen SDC Pro Gripper Series. And for a rider, I think it's one of the most comfortable seats out there, because it's got that nice, you know, sort of arching, swooping back support, you know, nice and smoothed out. It's not quite as angular as some of the other Saddlemans, but it still kind of like grips you into place right where you want to be sitting too, but really comfortable for like lumbar support and stuff. But yeah, Leah's absolutely right. I'll roll some B-roll right now of the different seats, but the new one that we have is the Saddleman Explorer, and it has, I think the difference in the passenger area is like 6 inches versus 12 inches on the new seat. So we've been interchanging that one out for, especially for the longer rides and stuff, but like I mean, for people that only want to get one seat, that, you know, they're not riding 2 up all the time, I mean, do you think it's worth it to invest in the wider seat just as your only seat, or can you get by with the regular 2 up setup?
I would say it depends on what your preference is in terms of how your bike is looking. I know for you, the aesthetic of your bike is important, which I totally get. I would do the same exact way. And the wider seat just doesn't look as good. But if you're not as worried about that, I personally think the wider seat looks just fine. So if you are planning to ride with a passenger a lot, I would go for the seat that's going to make your passenger more comfortable. If having that person ride with you is important to you, get them something that makes them want to ride. Like a comfortable seat. I
would second that too, guys, because let's put it this way. Like 30 seconds into riding on the Sportster, I would be hearing this, oh God, my butt, oh God, oh, let me get off, oh, it's the worst. And then on this bike, I have yet to hear a complaint, so.
Yeah, I was saying that we went for like a longer, like 5-hour ride this last weekend, and on the Sportster, that would have not even been a possibility. With the other Saddleman seat, the smaller one, I could do it, but I would be in a little bit of pain by the end. But this seat, I made it the whole time without complaining, which is new for me. Because I just haven't had a seat that's uncomfortable. So now I really feel like I can make it quite a ways with this seat, and no problem, and it makes me want to go out and ride more. So, and I know that's something that's important to Cass, so he wants me to be able to go out there with him, and I want to go out there too, so I'm more willing and happy to go through it when I'm comfortable.
So, okay, how do you feel like this bike stacks up as a 2-up rider? Like if you were recommending something to someone based on like, I only want to get a bike, but I kind of want to do like some long distance riding, but you know, I'm not sure if I want to get a bagger, I'm not sure if I want to get, you know, a Softail, I know I'm gonna be, oh, woo, I don't know why you're stopping.
You did not have a stop sign there, lady.
Nope, not even a little bit. But that's the other thing that gets to be a little bit fun when you have a passenger too, is those quick stops.
She doesn't even see us. All right. Hey, that's another thing passengers good for. They can flip people off.
Oh, old people driving is just, you know, the most fun thing in the world. Anyway, okay, so talk to us about, like, if you're not sure about, you know, what kind of bike you want to get. You know, you're thinking, maybe I want to go a little bit more long distance. I know I want to have a passenger every now and again at least, but, you know, I'm not sure if I want to go for a full bagger. Like, how do you think this bike stacks up?
Oh, I would say it's great. Like, if you, like you said, if you aren't totally sold on a bagger, but you definitely want a bike, this is a great option as a passenger ride. I'm not going to lie, it's not as comfortable as the Roadmaster, especially the way my dad has it decked out, but it is definitely doable. Like I said, I ride on the back of it for hours. I'm totally fine. I really just kind of feel spoiled on the baggers, so this is totally a great option, because, like, I know we talked a lot about either getting this bike or a bagger, and we just, like, well, I say we, it's your bike. We're ready to, like, take that step into a bagger just yet, and this is, like, really surprised me in how comfortable it is as a passenger.
Right on. So, I mean, for that, like, you think it's probably just kind of more up to, like, personal preference of, like, what makes, like, what, you know, what tickles your fancy?
Right, exactly. I mean, as a passenger, if you can convince your driver to want a bike with armrests and cup holders and your own sound system, and they're down for it, go for it. I'm here to tell you it is a lovely experience. However, if that's not quite what you're looking for, this is just as great in its own way.
Nice. So then, speaking of the passenger experience, I know we've been talking to some people, you know, when we've been out at different places, and like, you know, they always ask you what it's like to, you know, be a passenger on a motorcycle and stuff. And for those of us that, you know, might be apprehensive about hopping on the back of someone's bike, whether it be, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, family member, friend, you know, whatever it is, like, what would you say to those people, like, about some of their concerns as to, you know, riding as a passenger?
Yeah, I would say, how much do you trust the person that's driving the bike, right? Like, that is key, first of all. Don't get on the back of the bike with someone you don't trust. Or, like, even if I fully trust you, I let you go out for rides for a while without me as a passenger so that you were really comfortable on your new bike before I hopped on the back. Right. That's probably just a safe way to go about it. Now, once you trust them and you know they're a solid rider, go for it. Like, as a child, I was scared of just about everything. My biggest fear was getting hurt. And for some reason, I had this calling to ride on the back of a motorcycle, and I've never looked back since. I love it. I have had nothing but great experiences. It's just something you got to go for. Like, if you like riding in a convertible with the top down, this is like that, but a million times better.
That's awesome. And I would say, just as a rider too, like, especially for you new riders out there, obviously we talked about like knowing your limitations, and that's a big one. Like, don't take people on the back of your bike if you're not comfortable with it. Like, it does change the riding ergonomics, you know, it changes like how much weight you have, and like how it feels to corner, and how it feels to stop, and all of that kind of stuff. So like, really make sure you're comfortable as a rider, because like Leah said, you know, you are, at that point, you are responsible for not only your safety, but for their safety as well. So maybe we'll do like a part 2 on this video where you guys can ask Leah even more questions about, you know, what it's like to kind of have a passenger on the back, what it's like to be a passenger, safety, riding ergonomics, like tips and tricks, all that kind of fun stuff. So
yeah, like if you're interested, I'd love to give some tips on how to be a good passenger, because we talked about that a lot as well. Like, I have had like 20 years of experience that I feel like I'm a pretty decent passenger. However, I see some people as passengers and I'm like, what are you doing? You definitely want to be safe and know what to do as a passenger in certain situations, and just to make it easier on the person driving. So if you're interested in tips like that, I'm happy to give some. But don't be, I say, if you trust the driver, don't be afraid to get on the back of the bike. It is so fun. And like, even with me, like, now I want my own bike. I've always wanted my own bike.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, what, you know, you've been riding as a passenger for so long, what are you still doing on the back of my bike?
I've ridden before. I got my license. I need to commit on bike. I haven't, you know, I've got the full commitment to one bike. But I love being a passenger in the back, because I can totally sit back and relax and just stuck in my surroundings. And don't get me wrong, I love riding. I love being able to like stand it and go really fast. Like, there's no thing I want to do and still way too fast. But I love being a passenger. I think even after I have my own bike, I will still want to ride as a passenger on your bike from time to time, just because it's nice. It's just relaxing, and it's such a fun way to see the world.
Absolutely. So, I mean, maybe that's kind of the next thing that we can look at, guys. Like, maybe we can convince Leah to get her own bike, and then we can show you guys some of the upgrades that she might want to make to something. So, drop a comment down below. What bike do you think Leah should get? Or better yet, maybe try to guess what she's looking at, because I know for a fact, don't tell them, but I know that you have one very particular in mind.
I have two I was debating between for a very long time, months, and I think I've set my mind on one. The biggest issue, you could guess both bikes actually, because the biggest issue has been there's one bike I've had my eye on since I was a little kid, and well, yeah, for a decent amount of time, and then a newer one that has caught my eye, and I'm trying to decide which to do. So, But I think I'm pretty convinced. But you can give me some suggestions. But I think I'm pretty sure what I'm gonna do.
All right, well, guys, you heard it here first. She has it in her mind, and I will leave it up to you guys. Drop a comment down below with which bike you think Leah should get, or which bike you think he's going to get, and whoever gets it right, I don't know, I'll give you a shout out in a future video or something like that. How about that?
Yeah. Also, I just want to say, like, I know not all passengers are ladies, but I highly encourage you to get the women in your life to get out and ride. Like, there need to be more female riders. It is such an awesome experience and such a fun community to be part of.
Yeah. And I think, like we said too, if you guys have any other questions for Leah, if there's any ladies out there that might be watching, you know, let us know for sure. I'm sure she will be happy to help.
Yes, absolutely.
Right on. Well, guys, that's going to do it from us. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of hearing some direct opinion from a real life passenger on what it's like to ride one of these bikes as a 2-up bike. You know, it's a topic that I think a lot of people have questions about, but like I said, it doesn't really get covered that often. So I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, drop a like if you did. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and the subscribe button. It helps me out hugely. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Later.
Bye.